is plenty of days. I'm not going to lie to you. Welcome to the Hunker in the Bunker. It's the Sunday solo session. I'm trying to come up with as many brand names for the different days as possible. Titty Tuesdays is right out because we've got two Canadians on. Monday Madness is just not working. I've tried to get some people from insane asylums on. Do they even exist? Oh, this is a terrible start to a show. I wish I could stop recording straight away. Hello, welcome to the show. Welcome everyone. Hi, Winner Dave, War Master, MJ Pegasus. Thanks for being here. Today, I've been bedridden for a day since the show yesterday. So I am just chilling on my own. We're going to have a hangout, you, me, and the guys. I'm not feeling great, I'm not going to lie to you. But the stream streak must continue, and that's all that matters. I do have some lockets. They normally make me feel better. And most importantly, if you're a podcaster, I am listening. I'm not listening. I am drinking this lovely wilder. Evening, Gabe. Gabe over on the Facebook. Gabe, you got Skype. You should come on the show right now and talk to me. That's what you should do. Lock in lockets. Hi, Dydrin. How's the painting going? Today. Oh, thank you to everyone on the Oswald Gamer Patreon, and thanks for joining me live. There we go. I'm just going to do some hobby today. I've got a Death Killer War Trike to build. There we go, as you can see. It got sent with no instructions. So no destructions available. So I don't know what to do. I'm not wearing I've got one of these for my face mask. This is my anti-Rona mask. There you go. It's also in case at some point we're going to overthrow the elitist pig dogs and destroy capitalism. This is the Malaki, he said, I'm on the old Twitter watching. That's some crack. I'm glad that you enjoy it. Yes, so the Discord is up. If you want to... Hey, Adam Jackson. I hope you're well, by the way. If you want to stick some pictures up on the Discord in here. I might have a guest joining me. There's a couple of people who I'm waiting to get back to me on it. But I've got a very exciting week this week. I've got Henry Steele on tomorrow from the Cult of Paint, which is very exciting. Then I've got Val and Peter on Tuesday. They are going to be discussing 40k as per, or maybe not. And then on Wednesday we'll be talking 30k. That's right. So we're getting an update on where the Horus Heresy at and where the game environment's at the minute. Already shaping up to be a great and bumper week next week. But today it's just going to be me, unless one of my buds joins me, if that's right with you guys. Hello, the Hobby Hobo, Gursey. What's going on? K-Dread. Fellarg, I haven't seen you in a while. Hello. A Hook and Pin. You got the Rona, Rob. I don't think I got the Rona. I just think I'm a bit run down. I don't know why. I haven't got a cough or anything like that. So, Gabe, definitely. You and me should chat. You're a cutie pie. Mr. Tej, what's up? So, first question, really, is what the fuck is up with you guys? You guys have been joining me for 48 days now, and I know some people on and off. I'm not going to judge you. I would like you to know that I've written your name down, and I will be visiting you, knocking on your front door when the Rona's over and asking why. But I want to know how you guys are all today. That's the real question. What have you been up to in this hobby time? I've had some great guests on this week, done some cool shows. So I'd like to know what you guys are up to and how things are working out for you, what you're up to, basically. Hobby Hobo, Day Bajillion, still have make more KO to paint. So have you painted up one of the Ironclads? I will be honest, one of the reasons I don't think I've picked up the Ironclads is it's intimidatingly large. And I'm not 100% certain about it, to be honest. Looks like you have the AOS chat up on Discord. Oh, so sorry. I've got the wrong chat up. Let me sort it out. I do have the AOS chat. I was listening to this very funny Stormcast Eternals video. If you guys... Oh, I did do something fun yesterday. I don't know if you guys are interested. Let me just double check. Would anybody be interested in...
Me talking like this for a small amount of time. At the click of a button, I can now
be like that. It's when I want to complain about rules. It's going to be my new thing. And when I tell jokes, I think that worked. We'll see what you guys said. Right, Mr. Teej is converting my living city army when I'm not at work. Um, uh, Living city when you're not at work. Okay, please put some picture up. Scott B had to wage chemical warfare against some moths that invaded my flat yesterday, painting Gene Stealer Colts today. Oh, wow. Gene Stealer Colts, man. Listen, I think possibly the Gene Stealer Colt range is the best range any game system. You guys know I love the Mechanica stuff. I like orcs, but Gene Stealer Colts for like pure like sci-fi dystopia setting. My friend Tom has got an incredibly painted one, and like why he doesn't have it in some sort of diorama where he pretends to be like some sort of off-world colonist that's and plays D&D in that setting all the time. I honestly don't know, and I'm pissed that he hasn't done that yet. To be honest, because they're really good. I don't really know what else I can say. Oh shit, Adrian, nice painting. Yeah, there you go. What's going down? Hold on, what are you guys saying? I had to wage chemical warfare against some moths that invaded my flat yesterday. Good. Started painting some Nighthaunt. Been missing my clubmates, and I really miss my war fam. I miss my war fam. I miss you guys. What did you enjoy that, Hobby Hobo? If I just do this,
Right, the hobby hobo is sexy.
if I say it in a in a baby voice, does that work? He's gone full drive morning. I could do this. I'm taking a Twitch break from redecorating the attic room, NJ Pegasus. That voice is amazing, and it always will be. Calling it. Good. All right, I'll do that all the time. That'll be fun. That voice is nightmare fuel. Do you want to see the other voices, ladies and gents? I particularly like this one when I'm like, "Hello, welcome to the Honest Wargamer." That's fun. I don't know what that actually sounds like, but thankfully, don't tell anyone because I want to have some guests on, specifically Nathan, and randomly do the noise because I think that'll piss him off. Which will be, or I would like to do live streaming with that as well. Like, let's try it.
He's cast a spell on a 7!
It'd be cool for D&D. I don't know why people don't do it for D&D. Irish Minotaur. I've taken out my Undead army and an unopened Bretonian box set, and I'm beginning to work on making an Undead Bretonian army. Going to break the AOS meta with 30 Black Knights. Yes! Irish Minotaur. I am into that. Absolutely. Yeah, get me some more of that. Yes. That's all I'm going to say. I would like to see pictures when you can do some pictures. Oh, War Master. What are you doing in here? Ah, some nice. Are those ogres, Blood Bowl ogres, or just the regular ogres? They look amazing. Good job. I'm all ready to move on to my new project now, says Diadrin. You're ready to move on to your new project? What, Diadrin, what are you going to do next? And have you finished Final Fantasy VII? That's the real question. I bought a new side project. We'll pop a picture in the Discord. Please do. I want to know what your side project is. Do you believe in life after love? I do. This was the hurricane conversion in the chat, Rob. Mr. Teej. I'm looking for it, Mr. Teej. Where is it? Did you put it in the live show chat room? Sorry, I'm on the wrong chat. That's my problem. Oh, wow. That's an awesome hurricane. Hold on, let me make it so you guys can see, because this is all fucked up. So you guys can see in the chat. Is this one? Yeah. Let's do this. Is that going to go over my face now? Yeah. Let's do that. Okay. There we go. Oof. That looks amazing, man. Look at the little fella at the bottom. Who's the guy at the bottom? Can you guys see this guy? Who's he? What's he from? Oh, you stuck some shields on it? That looks cool. Yeah, I'm into that. That's a cool conversion. Herminister? What the fuck is this, bro? What is that? That looks awesome. I'm going to have to set up a different scene, like with me, just a little box, so I can make these so I can see them bigger. But that looks cool. And also Scott B, nice. GC Colts, probably best range ever. Just going to call it now. Moon Tyrannid. Did you create some Honest Wargamer dice? Moon Tyrannid. Hold the shit on. I made a thing for you. Wow. Ooh. Wow. That's great. Hey, Dave Fraser. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show, everyone. Thanks for being here. I'm all by myself. Good. I'm a bit fucking lost. I'm not gonna lie to you. Don't know where we're at the minute. Um, didn't it go for 300 quid strike cruiser though? That would kill me. So how much was that, the Herminister? There's a picture of it next to a marine. Let me go find it. Hold on. So what are we looking at? Podcast users, because you guys must be like, this sucks. Currently looking at some stuff on Discord, some cool pictures. You should join our Discord and share your pictures because they are pretty rad. But let me just find Discord again. Whoa. That's bonkers. How much did that cost, Herminister? That's crazy. Oh, that's not. Hey, Nick Pert on Twitch, on Twitter. Didn't go. That thing's mad. I wonder how much that thing costs. The small one's 60. The big one is 300. Which is the one you have? The smaller one. That Primaris Marine. That's mad. Is that for Dreadfeet Gothic? Battlefield Gothic? I played the game, which is quite fun. I enjoyed, but I don't know if you guys enjoyed it or have played it. That's my question. Fuck. I sound like a moron today. I can hear myself. Anyway, I don't know how people do this all day for a living. That's not the small one. That's just further away. Perfect. All right. So did I miss what anyone's been up to today? Dadahammer CG has just finished up model 209 of Isolation Hobby. That's incredible. 209 is a wild ride. Let's be real. That's pretty phenomenal. I have painted up in 40, 52, 54 models in Isolation Hobby so far. That's not bad. But if you've done none, don't feel bad about it. We are in a global pandemic. It's a really scary time. So if you've achieved nothing at all, you shouldn't be hard on yourself. You should just be like, I've been here and I've been chilling out, and that's fine. You're completely allowed to. Chris, my friend Chris Seaton, I'm building KO, bring on the boats. So Chris is very Dwardin-esque anyway. He is good at manufacturing things. He has got like a gruff attitude, but a kind and noble heart. So I can't wait to see Chris's KO. I also can't wait to see Chris's KO painted up maybe 35% for about the next year and a half. So take that, you dick. Ian Marley, sick bloody painting skeletons. How many skeletons have you painted up, Ian Marley? That's the real question. MJ Pegasus puts my 32 mini score to shame. I need to pull my hobby socks up. I mean, I don't know if it puts it to shame, MJ Pegasus. They're not brilliantly painted, to be honest. The next thing on my list to paint is going to be this Deathkiller Wartrike, very high up on the list. But I've also got, do you know what? Does anyone else keep putting off the big blocks that they've got to paint? I've got to paint up 80 blue horrors, and I cannot be arsed. I just don't have the emotional strength right now to do 80 blue horrors. I would like that, maybe if there's a really good podcast or a book. I don't know if you've listened to We Are Bob, the book, or it's a book, and you might have read it. But that one got me through painting a bunch of dudes one time. So if I can get something I can get hooked into, but probably not. MJ Pixis, to be fair, 31 is more than I would have done if there wasn't a lock-in. Same. Scott B, I think I've done 30 in lockdown. One was an Eidolon, though, so I reckon that should count at least double. I'll let you count that for 2. Ian Marley has done 30 skeletons, only 50 to go. See what I'm saying? I keep painting single models because I can't be arsed with the 80 blue horrors. But once I've got them done, it'll be amazing. You could say it's a horrific challenge. There we go. I'm in the game now. Let's go. Let's talk Warhammer. Okay. What else has happened in the most recent times? Well, there was that event yesterday where we covered yesterday on the Tabletop Simulator event. I'm on fire now. I've got my groove. Tabletop Simulator event. There was 22 people who played. It was a one-day, 3-round event. It was won by Seraphon. Second place, Seraphon. Third was our man Mark, the Mere Mouse Mandingo, and he won with mixed. He came third with mixed chaos. So a Seraphon 1 and 2. I wonder if we'd have seen the same thing happen in live events around the world. We may have, we may not have, but it definitely looks like, at least even on Tabletop Simulator, that the Seraphon are doing well. Do you guys have any thoughts about that, or no thoughts? Right, what's going on here? Want to do a Hammerboat combat KO for the Bants. Good. Well done, Serbator. Dan Hammer CG has finished up 2,000 points of Gloomspite Gits, just painting 100 grots. Oh my god, that must suck. Winner Dave, I prefer painting a big block over painting one big model. Give me 40 Skeleton Warriors over one Nagash any day. If it helps you out, Winner Dave, I'm also scared of big models. So I can't be arsed with large blocks, but I'm also scared of largels. So anything around maybe like this salamander range, I can cope with. I'm like, yeah, like a medium-sized model. I'd say I'd go as far as a Trog boss, but I wouldn't do a Troll Hag. Having owned a Troll Hag for about 4 years, never painted her. It's because it's too scary. And I can't do the justice that a princess like her deserves, which is a significant amount of justice, because she's really pretty. Double Soren, I painted 80 Marauders in 9 days. That's really impressive. Avoiding anything that feels like a grind, trying to limit anything to finish in a week, so I get that little boost of finishing, then bounce to something new. That's a really good plan, Scott B. I've just been doing a unit at a time. Has been my process. And the internet breaks. Fucking brilliant. Come on. It's working. Good. I prefer painting. I painted 6 Hydras as part of my 209. Wow, 6 Hydras. I painted 8 Marauders in 9 days. Not into that. If I could do it, you can do it. Good. I will. Question: has Etio ever nailed ciders whilst drinking an event before? Says MJ Pegasus. I'm not sure if they've done it in their joggers in their lounge. I think Adam yesterday took on an incredibly brave role as an online TO while also getting nailed on Thatcher's. I think it's probably one of the bravest moves. We talked the other day, me and Nathan, we talked about 1,500 point tournaments. We talked about what changes we would like to see in the future. The real question for you guys is do you want to see in the future more TOs getting hammered at their event? Or do you want them to take it seriously and be professional? I guess that's the real question. Okay. Well, we might have a guest joining us. Let me just go find out. Oh yeah, let's go call our guest. Don't. And we'll get him in here. It shouldn't take too long. Bam, bam, bam. Or maybe it will. Hello to our guest. Hello, how are you? Hold on. Yeah, great. Let me just make it so that everyone can hear you. And then, there you go. Our guest, James Powell, everyone.
Good afternoon.
The Merch Grot. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. I'm not going to lie. Struggled for the first 10, 12 minutes. I didn't find my groove, it seems. I've been abed the past day, not well. And it seems coming in to the studio today, I just couldn't get my head in the game. You know when you got a foggy, fluey head.
Yep.
Couldn't get my head in the game. Couldn't get it in the. I'm in now, and then you've joined me, so now I feel like we're on for a rocker of a show.
Oh, I was gardening.
You were gardening.
I was gardening. How non-Warhammer?
The real question is have you done what everyone else has done? Have you taken your Sylvaneth Battle Tome and have you buried it deep in the earth, hoping a new, greater Sylvaneth Battle Tome will grow from the seeds?
I'd like to say yes, but I didn't buy one because it was a rubbish battle tome.
Oh, I miss you so much. So nice to see you. How are you?
Yeah, good. Not too bad. I did, this morning, I don't think either of them are in here. I'm not sure. Haven't seen who's on. But I've been coaxed into buying a 40k army.
When did you get coaxed into buying a 40k? What the hell? Are you going to be a buy gamer like me?
Well, no, I'm buying Custode, so I'm going to cheat.
No, that's actually the greatest decision. It's a really good call. Also, same army Superman collects, so you're in good company. Well, more importantly, he's in good company now.
So yeah, so that's about my highlight of hobby, because I've done none. No hobby.
Well, so you bought before the lockdown, people may or may not know that James bought a 3D printer and was obsessed with printing basically anything.
Yep.
Have you done some more? Have you followed along with that, or like?
Um, some stuff. So I doing a load of computer gaming
Oh,
since lockdown.
what have you done?
So I won all of Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Congratulations.
Big fan. So I didn't own a PlayStation 4 before lockdown. So I brought a PlayStation 4 to play Final Fantasy VII. So I've played that. And then me and a friend who I know through Warhammer, Stevie,
Stevie.
both brought a game called Raft, which
Oh,
people
okay.
may or may not heard of. So you're some kids and you're stuck on a raft at sea, and you have to live. And we played that for 4 nights from like 7 till 2 in the morning, I think.
I'm not gonna lie to you. It doesn't sound like I'm confused as to the excitement. So I'm a child who lives on a raft.
Yeah, honestly, so it sounds terrible, and then you play it, and it's great. So basically, you start, and you're a kid, and you're on a raft, which is a 2x2 raft. So there's 2 blocks, and that's your whole world. And you've got this little crappy fishing hook, and you have to fish things out the ocean, and then build a bigger raft, and go to islands, and eat, and live. So it's like a survival game. So it's somewhere between, like Ark, Survival Evolved, but no dinosaurs.
Okay.
And what was that? Rust. So something like that, but you're stuck at sea on a raft. There's always a shark. It's great. Loved it.
Okay. All right. Well, that's brilliant. I got really into Frost Haven. Basically, there's some. This was before the lockdown. It just caught my attention one night. It was you basically are. There's a steam machine. Like there's a apocalyptic. Oh my god, I am terrible today. There's an apocalypse. The world is frozen. You have to survive. You've got the last steam engine, and you're with a group of survivors, and you have to build up a little city, and it gets colder and colder, and you have to try and make it warmer and warmer.
I can't remember what it's called, but
Frostpunk.
someone told me to buy it. Yeah, that was it. So I did do some non-Warhammer hobby this week, kind of, I guess.
Okay. Tell me about it.
So
because you play other game systems as well, right?
Yeah, so this isn't playing, this is buying. So this is like a really shameless plug for something I have no attachment to.
Okay.
So this week my Kickstarter went through on a game, you've made me think of it, called Frosthaven.
Oh yeah.
Which is the sequel to Gloomhaven, if anyone's ever played that, which I'm obsessed with. I've been playing it for a year and a half with 2 friends.
I haven't played it.
So the guy that made that had made a sequel, stuck it on Kickstarter. So it's like a dungeon crawly board game. It's a much better version of like Silver Tower, if anyone's played that. And so he kickstarted the sequel to that on Kickstarter, and he wanted 500,000 US dollars, I think, to make the game. And I went all in, put quite a bit of money in, and on yesterday, I think it reached 12.9 million dollars, I think it was. Kickstarted, so it's like the highest kickstarted board game ever, and the 3rd highest kickstarted thing ever.
Wow. Okay, that's crazy. That sounds like I like. I was part of a Kickstarter actually. That I still don't have the things for. Like, but it was like 2 years ago for the. Oh, I don't even know when it was, but it was one of the friends of the show, Velatron, asked if I wanted anything for the show. And I was, but he said it has to be something utterly ridiculous that you wouldn't think about getting yourself normally. And I was like, okay, well, I'd seen a Kickstarter for the oh my god, the Labyrinth, yeah,
Yep.
the Labyrinth, but the scenery in the Labyrinth,
Okay.
yeah, and so I did that. Well, he chipped in for that, but we still like 2 years later don't have, or a year later or whatever it is, don't have any of the stuff. Does it take that long? Kickstarter stuff?
Yeah, it can do. So I think I've kickstarted. Should we be nerdy? Right. While we're chatting, I'll make some lift music.
Oh, okay, no problem. I can make you smile if you do you want to hear me smile? Do you want to laugh?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll do the rest of the show like this then. That should cheer you up.
Oh no, I feel like you've reached a point of madness.
Why? Why would you laugh at this? This is hilarious.
So, right, where is it? So I've kickstarted, I think, 20 things probably now. 18 things. So some of them have come, some of them haven't. So the worst one, I think, yeah, it should have come in August 2019. I kickstarted in like 2018. They still update you though, so I'm still getting updates. That's another big board game. So I also board game a fair amount outside of hobby.
What, have you got
Yeah.
any advice for kickstarting? Like, this isn't what the show was. I don't know why this. Whatever. Like, you got any advice? Like, because I honestly don't know. Like, what's the? Explain Kickstarter to me like a child. I know that I
Okay.
give someone money, right?
Yeah, so it's weird. So you're not. So in theory, you can go on, you can find something you may or may not be. Well, yeah, you're going to find something you're interested in, and it can be anything. So I don't think there's even any rules on what they are or aren't allowed to ask for money for. But because most of my Kickstarters are either music or board games, that's generally what I get, and some 3D print files now. What basically happens is they sell you a pitch like a business. So you can read it or watch a video depending on how they do it, and it will say, this is what we're making, this is why we're making it, this is how awesome we think it will be, this is what it's about. And then basically they'll have tiered rewards, a bit like Patreon for anyone of your viewers that uses your Patreon. It's that same kind of thing. So what it will basically say is, if you give us a tenner, you get your name in the back of the book. If you give us, 400 quid, you get a copy of the game with solid gold models, blah, blah, blah. And basically what happens is you take a punt. So you put money in, and when you put the money in, it will give you an idea of what your reward is. And then generally what they'll do is break down all the issues that may or may not come up. What then happens is you never spend any money unless they hit their target. So when they set it up, they'll say they need £500,000 to make the game. If they never make £500 and the Kickstarter runs out, you don't spend any money. If they make their target, they take the money out your bank account. And then really, I think when I read it years ago, so the company's not even ever actually liable to give you what they promised. Because it's just like a gentleman's agreement. However, obviously, if they
wait, hold on. This is a gentleman's agreement.
yeah,
Yet we're in the modern age where there are no gentlemen.
well,
Wow. I mean, apart from you and everyone in the Twitch chat and the podcast listeners, of course, and that can also apply to ladies. Yeah.
yeah,
You lady.
yeah. Just the saying. So it's just like a weird agreement. So as of yet, I don't think I've not kickstarted anything that's never come yet. But I did. So the original Kickstarter I did on one board game that I've seen physically, it was at the Games Expo last year, was supposed to come almost a year ago. Still isn't here, but it's really interesting. So like that's got loads of models to it, really cool ones. And so like they had an issue where one of the molds blew up, and then they sent out copies of the game to some people and realized that some bits need changed. So there's like weird stipulations. So you're basically buying something for one day in the future. Some other stuff. So talking to 3D printing, if people like 3D printing, there's some really good 3D print stuff on there.
So
Pretty
what,
much
the designs for.
yeah, so you just get the designs. So a couple of people, where did it go? So Sheffield Slaughter, if anyone saw me or played me, I had a really cool like wizard's tower that's like maybe 70 centimeters high. That was a Kickstarter, so I kickstarted the files. They basically send them the day after it finishes, and then you just print them. So it was a week's worth of printing, but it's a great piece of terrain and pennies. Like if you know someone with a 3D printer or you own a 3D printer, I still don't think they're at the point where models are very viable. But for like terrain, it's a million times cheaper than like Games Workshop for like solid plastic terrain. The only terrain I think that's way cheaper is like the MDF stuff.
Okay. Well, so I'm just reading some of the things in the chat. Dave Fraser says that the salamanders that I painted up were part of a Kickstarter originally, and they were supposed to come with a unit of skink alikes that was to come with them, and he still hasn't had them 5 years later. Interesting.
Oh,
Dadhammer says there's no guarantee you'll get anything. Gorka Morka says I kickstarted Monster Fight Club's terrain last March and got them this week. They're great. That must also be really exciting as well. Almost like you're buying a present for your future self, and I assume maybe almost forget about it. You're like, that'll be sweet. I'm hoping that eventually I get this terrain, which I know is being made in New Zealand from like this guy who works at Weta. And I'm still like, listen, when I get that, that's going to be so sweet. But there's also like, I'm also like, when is it coming? It's been
yeah,
so long.
it is super random. So I had I no, most of my Kickstarters are board games, I think. So I'd kickstarted a board game. I'm just gonna find the name. So called Machina Arcana, which is like a Cthulhu-based crafting game.
Cthulhu.
And I kickstarted it on a whim. It looked good. I kickstarted it. It was maybe 35 quid, I think, in a Kickstarter. And then I forgot I'd ever kickstarted it. So about 4 months ago, I randomly had a thing that was like, there's a DHL parcel. It's on its way to you. No idea what it was. Got home, opened it, was like, oh, forgot I ever kickstarted this. Hadn't even read a review. Read a review that started with, this is the least user-friendly board game I've ever played, and probably the hardest.
Wow.
I think I've played it twice. It's like it's good, but it's like so overly complicated, and all you do is die, really.
Wait, is it called the Game of Life?
Yeah, probably. Yeah. So what else have I done? I've done that. Oh, and I think I can't remember if I even texted you about this. I texted a few people. So yesterday I clambered into my loft, and dug out my 1980s copy of Warhammer Quest to play.
Wow. How come you decided to do that?
So I don't know how many people are in the chat are the same sort of age of us, probably most of them. So when I was a kid, I had me and my sister were always kind of nerdy. We were always into board games. And then when I was, I don't know, 10 and got into Warhammer, was probably that point where like original Warhammer Quest was still huge. There was always photos of it in White Dwarf. That really amazing like model that's still, I think, in the Warhammer World display as you go in and go right. There's like the really cool Warhammer Quest one. Like that was in White Dwarf every other week. And I remember always wanting it, but I think even back in the day it was probably about 80 quid. So it was one of those things like as a kid was unobtainable, really expensive. I don't think my parents would have seen any worth in buying like an 80 quid board game, as they both hate board games.
It's so hard to explain. Like, I tried this last night actually. I got into a conversation about the mechanics of gaming and why I love them, and why every new game or even new or War Scroll or Battalion or something is such an interesting exploration for the mind. And my partner, she is massively into books. She's a book editor. There are books all around our house. She's obsessed with books, and I was able to like describe it to her like through the lens. I was like, imagine you've got millions of beginnings, millions of middles, and millions of ends. Yeah. And you get to manipulate those at any point that you want. Only someone else makes them all up, and you get to throw them around as a sort of toy box. And I managed to actually get that through to her. Like, mechanics of games are actually like, it's cool having a miniature, right? Like, the salamander is a cool dude, right? Like, it's a cool little thing. But the ability for him to shoot fire in my mind and have these attacks is like really evocative. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so new games are all the time exciting because there's new opportunities that we don't quite yet understand, I think. It's hard to... Maybe someone better than me, more eloquent than me, has explained the beauty of those things. Sorry, you were saying.
Oh, no. So, yeah, so basically, so I always wanted it as a kid, never could afford it. And then when I got back into Warhammer, maybe 5 years ago now. I can't even remember where I am. So maybe about 5 years ago, I first got back in, not to play, just to paint. Was in a shitty mindset, I guess, personally, and had owned Space Hulk as a kid. So when they re-released that, I brought it on a whim. Never did anything with it. It sat in my mum's loft, and then I was in a great place personally. So I was like, oh, I can't really afford to do anything. I can't afford to leave the house, but I've got this old Warhammer set that I brought 5 years ago. This Space Hulk thing that I loved. I'm gonna get it out. I'm gonna paint it. So I painted all of that. Ran out of models because there's like 30 models in the box. And then was like, I want to paint more. So I went through this phase where I was just buying models I loved as a kid and painting them. And somewhere in there on my eBay thing was me watching Warhammer Quest over and over again, constantly. Like it was in my feed every day. I'd search, I'd look for it, and I'd try and find a full copy that was not £400. And at some point, and I can't remember when, actually managed to look out, and I think I paid 80 quid for it.
It doesn't sound too bad.
No,
for a war game or a tabletop war game with models, 80 quid's about modern day pricing.
yeah.
Right?
So I've had it for, I don't know, 4 or 5 years. Brought it, painted most of it. And it's probably not to like the level I probably paint now, but it's painted and it's cool. And it's got that kind of thing where I'm like, I wanted this my whole life. Then I brought it, then I painted it. But it's kind of sat in a box, and I keep kind of threatening people that I'm going to play it with them, and then remembering I have no idea how to play the game, and we'll all sit there for like 5 hours while I'm like, okay, let's stop. Let's look at your weapon skill. Now let's work out what weapon skill does. Now let's see how you hit someone. So I just thought, do you know what? Like, I'm stuck in the house. I'm not really doing anything. I can probably read those rules, build a board, learn to play the game. And then when this is all over, that's a great way to meet up with some people, sit around, catch up, and roll dice with 4 people playing a game that I've waited to play 30 years or whatever.
Mm. Yeah, I can't imagine that level of commitment. But I also, are you going to paint the models up? Have you got them painted?
Yeah, they should all be painted. So I painted most of them. So I think there's a couple of bats maybe not painted. So it's like, I wish it was here. I'll send you some photos. But it's like these crazy monopose orcs that you might remember with like a scimitar and some like static orcs pulling bows. And then there's tiny little Gretchen. I don't think they exist anymore, do they? But those were little clubs, and these awful static minotaurs with an axe in a hand and a fist out. Tiny spiders, like giant rats. So I've got a set painted, I think, that was the set that should have been in the box. But when I brought it, it's one of those really random things. And if someone in here owns this game, they might now sit on Twitter messaging me for the next 2 hours. But basically, when I brought it, the guy I brought it off had obviously brought either one set or multiple sets or had expansions. So when it came with all the stuff that needed to be in the box, but it came with a ice cream tub full of spares that I still have in an ice cream tub in my loft, which is like the loads of like the old monopose beastmen and Skaven and orcs and goblins with the little spears that always used to break. So yeah.
Sorry, I was just listening to you talk about it. It sounds like the only thing I really know about Warhammer Quest, which I didn't play, or Hero Quest, was the video, that awesome video that the guy made. Do you remember that?
Oh, the best thing about Hero Quest is the
Minotaur, and then it'd just be something else. That's the only thing I really remember about it, to be honest, or even know of.
No, I've got a Hero Quest too. Like, yeah, I've got a copy of that in the loft as well.
Yeah. Oh, they're not the same. They're not the same.
No. So Hero Quest is Warhammer Quest is like the adults version. So it's a mix between Dungeons and Dragons and like Hero Quest. So it's basically D&D with a board and models. And Hero Quest is the kids version. So I'm pretty sure MB Games, who I don't even know if they exist anymore, but they basically brought, I think, Games Workshop, like paid Games Workshop, to make models and basically develop a kids version of Warhammer Quest. So Warhammer Quest is like weapon skill and all the complicated stuff that D&D had.
But Hero Quest is the easy way in.
Yeah, Hero Quest is like probably closer to Silver Tower. So I don't know. Did you play
Yeah,
Silver Tower?
I played Silver
Yeah.
Tower
So it's more like you're gonna
once.
hit something, roll a 4,
Yeah.
and you roll a 4, which I
You
think
didn't?
Silver Tower
Did
is.
you think it was any good? I didn't think it was any good at all. I liked the models. I thought they were cool, and I liked the concept, like play something on the tabletop with my mates that wasn't like a big board game. But it just didn't really. It wasn't very evocative. Like
Um.
I've had the same thing with like trading card games on your phone.
Yep.
Something to play on the toilet, etc. So I've
Yep.
tried a few out. I like Gwent. I played Gwent on The Witcher.
Yep.
And I played it on the desktop a few years ago. I played it again recently because they brought out a phone version. I was like, oh yeah. And then I didn't really. It was too slow. And then I was like, oh, I'll try Hearthstone because everyone says this is the balls. And I played that, and I was like, oh, this doesn't seem that exciting. But I have just played while I was in bed last night with a fever. I was playing The Legend of Runeterra or something, whatever the fuck it's called, but it's the one made by Riot, and that's it. Just better, but it's so weird, right? What I'm trying to say is there's 3 games which are basically the same. They basically have the same setup.
Yeah.
And I wasn't interested in, like, utterly uninterested in 2 out of the 3, even though I think the production level was high enough. But then the third one, I was like, this I feel is actually really decent and really fun. My point is the same. Silver Tower, I don't see people just being like, can't wait for another cracking game of Silver Tower. It just doesn't seem to capture my imagination, or it didn't when I played it. Like,
So
I just...
and luckily you haven't said who you played it with, so we won't mention names. So I
Do
think
you
one
know
of
who I
like,
played it with?
do I?
Well, I know
No.
who I played it with. I played
Yeah,
it with the
I have
global.
no idea.
I played it with the global marketing manager for Games Workshop, who was a dit.
Oh, okay. So my thing. So Silver Tower for me. So I played with one of my best friends who doesn't play Warhammer, and then James Hobbs of Seraphon,
Mhm.
and his girlfriend. So we played that probably most weekends for, I don't know, 12 weeks or 13 weeks, however many missions there are. And I think for me, like, the best bit about it was it just put us around a table. So we'd normally like play around, have some takeaway, catch up, roll some dice. And so maybe we ended up, I don't know, maybe we ended up role playing a bit. So James Hobbs, if anyone's played a game of Warhammer Against him, is quite like methodical, and his like play style, as he's only ever really played Seraphon, is like methodical and thought through and in depth. If you play a computer game with him, or if you play a board game with him, it doesn't matter what character is, who is playing, like he's always a troll. Like not Trog, like internet troll. So he played Tenebral Shard in Silver Tower, who, if anyone's played it, can basically, he's specialist, he can like turn to dust or smoke or whatever and reappear somewhere else. So we'd be like on a boss fight in a room, getting battered, and he'd be like, cool, turn to shadow, take the treasure, go to the next room.
I'd leave you all to it.
Yeah, and he would literally, that's how we play the game. Or we'd be like losing a fight and he'd be like, cool, turn to dust, open the next door, let more monsters in. So I think like maybe the game, like the game itself probably wasn't amazing, but the people I chose to play it with made it really funny.
Yes, that could have also been the setup as well. Truth be told,
the game after Hammerhole, so the second one, we also brought that, which I think was probably better. Like there was more story, there was more depth, and there was more like story to the Age of Sigmar world. However, and I'm very adamant about this still. What I don't understand is they changed the way that game worked. So Silver Tower like all auto played, and Hammerhall had a DM. And although I get like it made it better story wise, I still don't think it worked. Like the concept of Silver Tower, the best bit about it was you could have some, have a drink, eat some food, chat with friends. Whereas I think when someone becomes a DM, like there's way more commitment from that person.
Yeah, I think you're right. Also, you got to remember that like Silver Tower it's not the first via very long fucking chalk of the Games Workshop's like standalone box sets, but at that time they had like the Assassin game, they had like the Catch a Can Jungle game, they brought out Space Hulk, but like they've really moved on from those kind of box set board games of 2 or 3 years ago. And now they've created these like persistent, living, smaller game systems, right? Blood Bowl being the like I'm talking in the modern generation, because you do have to remember compared to years and years ago, it's whole different teams who are part of those setups. So now instead of just producing like Silver Tower with a couple of things. They're now like, we're doing Titanicus. You're like, cool, there's a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
We're doing Underworlds. Cool, there's a whole bunch of stuff. We're doing Kill Team. There's a whole bunch of stuff. You're like, okay, like, there's a lot more. And it feels like more supported. I think that's the thing about Silver Tower. It was like a fire and forget. And there was a couple of little additions. And it felt like it was going to be a nice integration at the time into Age of Sigmar, but it didn't really work out that way. Which is a shame because also we saw some models in there. Like those are our first experiences of those of Carrick Acolytes and of those new Zangor. But the Scutlings, we never saw any updated Scutlings. There was a Gangster Warrior Priest. We never saw him updated.
He was ace. Although, so we did. I don't know if you've ever gone back or if anyone's ever gone back. That was one of my favourite things. So they released him, and obviously he was the first Gryph-hound. That Gryph-hound that came in the box.
He was, yeah.
So James's girlfriend Ashley played that character because he had basically a pet dog. So that's why she chose him. Didn't look at the rules. Didn't look at whatever. That's why she played him. So one of the other fun things we did, I guess, was so Ashley had not really ever painted a model, James's girlfriend, and my best mate Chris, who'd not played Warhammer since we were about 10, hadn't painted a model since then, and I gave them the characters they chose to go home and paint. So that was quite fun. But so she chose him, and actually, if you go back now, that Gryph-hound's like a little tiny midget Gryph-hound. It's like, I think up to the ankle on the Gryph-hounds.
It's tiny. It's tiny compared to the modern Gryph-hounds. And there's also one that comes with. There also one that came, I think, in some other kit. I can't remember which. Maybe a Lord Castellan kit. And then the packs of Gryph-hounds just outsize them loads. Like it's but there were some cool models and it was nice. Can we just go back to Kickstarter a little minute because a whole bunch of the guys in the chat have said some things about it.
Oh yeah, of course.
K-Dread had an issue with the Podros Alien game. It got kickstarted, they didn't fulfill it, they backed out, they supplied it to two shops for 2 years, and the IP owners found out, they pulled the support, there were like 3 editions, no one kickstarted it, so sounds like there was some issues with there. And War Machine, I bought a Kickstarter once before I understood it, won't do it again. What's the point of handing over cash for something you may or may not ever get? That's pretty fair. You might not even be interested in it 1 to 2 years down the line if the product was that good. Once the project is complete, if it completes, they'll make it available for general set anyway. Ran over. I think that's also fair, right? Like
yeah. So I think so. What
also, hello to Lee Bromley.
Ah, hi Lee.
Yeah.
So Kickstarter. The weirdest thing about Kickstarter is so some companies basically. So it's a way of companies funding stuff that they can't basically afford to do. And I think that's probably worth pointing out. And I know there was a good debate when we first started the objective rings, where I sat and chatted to AD Mac because he kickstarted some of the rules for his, I want to say Napoleonic, but it might not be, tabletop game that he does. But so it's an interesting one because it's basically a way of people funding something that they can't afford to do. So to kind of try and tie that in, you normally in theory get a discount on what it would sell at retail. And sometimes they do like weird exclusive things. So I backed a game called Too Many Poops, which is a game about cats and poo. And so if you kickstarted that, you got a little golden poo that goes in the bag of poos, and you got some rainbow cats on shiny cards. Now, I'm not normally the sort of person that would care about that, and I kickstarted the game because it was funny. And so when I was a kid, I used to call everyone a poo head, and it's still like this ongoing joke between me and my sister. So I brought that because it linked to that. But it took a long time to come, and I get all the reasons. For me, I guess it goes back to that thing you talked about earlier, where I almost feel like I'm buying a present for my future self, or a few things. So one of the big things I've kickstarted like 5 times, 6 times, however many albums he's done. Being a computer game nerd as well. Um, there's a guy called Tommy Tallarico that runs a like touring show called Video Games Live, which is the music from video games performed by like a 72-piece orchestra. And he does
Amazing.
CDs. Honestly, if anyone gets a chance to see it and likes computer games or classical music, either or, like it's incredible. And if you've got Spotify, you can get all the albums on there, so it's worth a little listen. Um, so yeah, so those cool. So like I've kickstarted stuff like that, and so that's like a CD price. So I think the Kickstarter's on that's £12 maybe, which I think's a lot less of investment than what we're talking about. So I know the other day there was a company basically who'd made got advertised basically Tomb Kings models, which we all know are redundant anyway, really. But I've been advertised these Tomb Kings. Sorry, Tristan, you're still in here, aren't you? But someone had done like someone had done like some Tomb Kings models. And when you look at it, I was like, well, they're high quality resin and they're really cool casts. But you look at it and you're like, well, the estimated time on this is another year. And I'm waiting a year and I'm still spending like £100 on a you know, 2 get started boxes sort of thing. Is it worth it? So I think there's that debate. And I guess like my advice would be like if you and ah, don't buy it. If you look at something and you think it's the most exciting thing and you can afford the punt, sometimes it's good fun.
Yeah, I hear you. Like, I can definitely understand. I'm looking now, like that Kickstarter, like, as I said, that I was super excited about. Hagglethorn Hollow is what it's called. Yeah,
Okay.
like it's still cool. Like, I want that to be a thing that's made. I think that's the moment with Kickstarter stuff, isn't it? Is that it's something that you want to be made. You want that to exist in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're like, I wish that existed. And you know, for our hobbies in specifically. Sometimes it doesn't. I think that's the beauty of the 3D printing world as we go forward. Is we're looking at Gore Kamorka in the chat has just linked us to the Monster Fight Club terrain, which is the people from Gale Force 9, and it looks really nice. It looks really nice, but in a world of 3D printing, where you can, as you know, you could ask someone to design you something, or you could pay someone to design you something. You can really start to get some incredible stuff made. So I think we're in a new world, really, where this Kickstarter stuff is accessible in some ways, but also redundant in other ways. Is what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah, I'm gonna link basically. So this is what I was on about. So this is the thing I kickstarted this week that I'm like horrifically excited about. So in theory, it's coming to me like August next year, I think.
What's Frosthaven?
All being well. So yeah, so it's Frosthaven. So it's the sequel to Gloomhaven. So it's like a dungeon crawly Silver Tower thing, but like with deep story, and there's cards like every time you're on a road with a scenario that you have to make choices on that affect the game.
Okay.
So this is his sequel to that game.
Oh, that's cool. And have they got some app integration? I don't know why more board games don't have app
Oh,
integration.
so I've paid for that. So it was one of the things you could Kickstarter. So basically, he wanted 500,000 to make this game, and at the end of day one, he'd made 8 million, I think.
Wow.
So he basically was like, okay, I don't know what to do with this money, so I'm going to do things that like were like a pipe dream. So one of the things that got added on, which I backed, was he's got voice actors to narrate every like card story quest in the entire game. So you're going to download an app and it will read the game to you in voices, like voice acted, like a computer game. So you'll just have like this told story, then you'll play a board game, then you'll have some more told story. And look, all these people that have all these people that have backed it. That's amazing. So yeah, so I kickstarted that, and then on the last day, he'd almost hit this 12.4 million, which ended up being his target, because it would make him the highest funded board game on Kickstarter ever, which was something Gloomhaven had, I think, originally. So I ended up putting some more in to get some extra bits. But yeah, there was a point where he was just like, cool, I've run out of things. So if we hit 12.4 million, I'll just add another character. So if anyone's never played the game, one of the best bits is you play with a bunch of people, but you're not supposed to. So you have like a personal quest that might kind of screw your team over, but benefits you if you do it.
Mhm.
And you get those like per dungeon and your character. So when you start the game, if you play like we've played, which is what I would say is properly. So if people do otherwise, all the characters are in sealed boxes.
Oh.
So they have a little picture on. So it might be like cross swords or like a little flame or like a face. But you don't know what the model looks like, you don't know what the character is, and you don't know kind of even if they're like an archer or a thief or a barbarian. So you blind pick a box and you get a random character that forces how you play.
That sounds
And
really fun.
Yeah, I just think it's really cool. So you end up with these really random things, and then basically what happens is when you start your character, you then get given two cards that no one else on the table should know, and you pick one of them, and each one of them is your character's personal goal. So your character might, so for anyone that hasn't played or might play, a small spoiler, but not that will change the game, was when I played my first character, I had like an assassin, and my personal quest was to kill 20 elites. So the enemies basically can be basic or elite. So luckily I was an assassin, so I basically went around every mission that we played, ignoring the weak enemies and just trying to, one shot elites so that I could complete my personal quest. And no one noticed because actually we needed to kill them, and they just thought I was doing it because I was nice and powerful. But actually I was kind of being a dick. So I did that. And then what basically happens is once your character completes that, there's a town you go back to between every mission if you want, where you can like rest, resupply, shop, pray at the church, all these random things. And basically what kind of happened with that was my character retires. So you complete your quest, you go back to town, you state to everyone else that you're retiring, and at the bottom of the card, it then does specific things. So if you retire a character based on this quest, it will give you another character to open in another sealed box. So your character retires, you go back to like level 1, but as a different character with a different personal quest. And then the really cool thing is, which I think makes the world super persistent, is it then adds like 2 cards into the city deck and into the road deck that relate to the character you've retired. So then there's a chance after your character's retired that you bump back into them, and then there's like this little tiny story snippet of you bumping into characters that you used to have.
So
I think
it's like a more structured Dungeons and Dragons basically.
yeah, it's a mix between like D&D, but it all auto plays, so no one has to write stories. There's a book of 110, I think, missions that all link to a story, and there's no. So one of the really weird things is there's no dice, so everything's played by cards. So everything's played by cards. And what basically happens is you have a deck of cards in your hand. Every time you run out or need to rest to heal or whatever, you lose a card. And if you run out of cards to play, your character's tired and basically just sits on the floor and can't play for the rest of that mission. So it's this weird, like almost D&D, but then almost like a card management game. It's really, honestly, it's so good. At some point, I'll make you play it.
Yeah, that sounds really good. I want to say a big shout out to W.A. Soren for donating 5 subscriptions to the channel, which is really nice. Thanks very much, which means Tibbles and some other people have just got a subscription. That's super nice. It honestly sounds really, really fun and interesting. Especially, I like the idea that you open a new box, and that's cool. I like that there's a blind quest.
Yeah, I think part of so in the rules. And again, so I did play with someone. So there's normally 3 of us that play it, and then we have randoms kind of jump in and out throughout the time we've played. But there was a guy we played with once who, lovely bloke, really enjoyed playing with him. But he was like, "Oh, in my normal playthrough with my friends, like we share our personal quests and we talk everything through." And I was like, that's fine, but it makes the game easier. Whereas in the rules, one of the things you're supposed to do is not share that quest, but also never tell people what you intend to do. So there's this kind of cool thing where if you really want to kill an enemy, you'll be like, cool, I'm might be going fast, or oh, I think I'm gonna just go ham and try and kill things. So you can give like a really basic description of what you're doing, but you shouldn't be like, oh, I'm gonna move 4 spaces up and I'm gonna hit that enemy. Like you're not supposed to do that. And the idea is that there'll be points where like someone will use all their best cards to one shot an enemy, but there's like speeds on the cards. So it then might happen that I go faster, kill the enemy they're going to one shot, and they've just wasted all their best cards and can't do anything. And it's kind of annoying, but also just the brilliance of it.
Honestly, sounds really good. Apparently, Will from Bad Moon Cafe has been raving all about it. Is one of the boxes your wife's severed head? Strong question from Dave there. I think he's referring to the film Seven. Also, you
Oh.
know, when you were talking about voice actors earlier, do they need this type of voice acting? Like,
I
ha
hope,
ha ha! I cast a spell.
I hope they have that. So I normally narrate the game when we play. So I put on a whole host of stupid voices. But yeah, so when I saw the app thing, I was like, that just would be so cool to just be like there's bits in missions and some characters like drop in and out all the time, and I'm like, I can't remember the voice for them, and that's annoying. So I'm like really excited about the idea of almost it being like, I don't know, like an Elder Scrolls game where someone just turns up and I press a button and they tell me a story, and I don't know. There's something nice about games that really suck you in, I think.
I think the story is really important as well. Honestly, I wouldn't mind um, if there was more like personal quest stuff. It's quite interesting. You're like, you will play Gloomhaven to the fucking rules, but you play HC, you're like, whatever, just kind of party in, just have a great time. Like,
Um,
but like, to quote Monica from Friends, the fun is in the rules. Let's be real. The rules make it more fun. But I honestly would like there to be more role playing. I think Warhammer does a great job of creating a competitive game in a narrative setting. I wouldn't mind if there was more narrative oomph to it. You know, like again talking about this game I was playing last night in bed, Rune Terror thing. Basically, each one of the little heroes that you summon or you put a card so you don't summon, but you know what I'm saying. Basically, if you complete their mission, like a set of like you attack twice or something, they level up and they become a better version of themselves. I wouldn't mind if like a Zangor Shame, not a Zangor Shame, right? A Zangor Shaman casts a couple of spells and then they become like a more empowered version of themselves. Well, that would be fun. But I guess. Maybe the monster chart does that in a shitty way. You know, Scarbrand's like, I haven't attacked for a turn. I'm pissed now.
yeah, it'd be interesting, wouldn't it, I guess, to see almost like, so I guess almost like people start, and I know if Lee Bromley's still here, I know he's done it in the past, but almost like when people have a Celestant Prime, and we've talked about it before, it having a name and you actually caring about it. So I can't imagine she's on here. There was a girl we met at a team tournament at Warhammer World several couple of years ago, I think now, when we could still go outside. Called Sophie, who still plays, but I think she's like Norwich way. It's a long way away, so I think she only plays local things. She's still on my Instagram, I think. But she got a Slanesh army, pre Slanesh new book, and she'd named every model, and they all had stripper names. That was like her thing. Um, and we had I guess because it was a team tournament and the first one I'd ever done, our kind of thrown under the bus player was a really great guy called Josh who plays with us. But he'd brought Beastclaw Raiders pre-Ogre book when they were not great, with loads of snowballs, and she got drawn against him and he like annihilated her army, and she all I could hear was her like being like, "Oh no, Precious is dead," like the whole way through. But
No,
like there was just so much like hurt in her voice every time she said it, and I was just like, "Oh, that's like that's just ace." Like this like such attachment to these models.
So I'm not saying that I am, and I'm not saying that I'm not going to be running a tournament after the lockdown. But if I were to, be planning such a thing, I would have it enforced inside the pack that each player has to name all of their characters and potentially units. Might just stick at characters and monsters, because I think if you don't, you're just being a dick at this stage. Like, everything should be named. Like, you want to, like, you'd be like, even if it's like Bill. Oh, Bill's dead. Like,
Yep.
it's hilarious, yeah?
Yeah.
Because when he's alive, you're like, fucking come on, Bill! Like...
Let's not lame units, because I think when you've got 140 Marauders on the table, and you're like, oh, Jeff, Paul, Larry, Kurt, all died, and I've only been hit once.
Yeah, maybe we should get her on for an interview for the stream streak and see what she thinks
maybe.
about that. That'd be
I'll
fun.
message her.
Well, it's been a pleasure talking to you, James. Honestly, I could just talk to you all day. Like, I really could, but I'm going to go back into bed. I'm not gonna
Yeah,
lie to
that
you.
sounds like a good plan.
Good plan. But it's been a pleasure talking to you, and a pleasure talking to everyone on the Twitch chat, or Twitter, I guess, or Facebook. We're on Twitter, apparently, right now. Or, yeah, you're on Twitter live, James.
Are we? I didn't even know that was a thing.
That's the thing. We're also on YouTube. But anyway, if you join wherever you've joined us from, or if you're watching us back, thank you for doing so. And please stay hydrated. It's just been a pleasure talking to you. You can follow James online, and should. And if you ever get the opportunity to meet him, he's one of the nicest human beings you'll ever meet, and has got a hilarious accent. But he doesn't sound like this, and maybe he should.
Quickly, because
yeah,
I don't
please
know if
do.
you've done it. Before I go, people that ordered objective rings, there is now 4 boxes of the things in my house, because I can't have them shipped anywhere else other than my house, because we're all locked inside. I planned badly, so we're waiting on articles to post them out in, and then they'll all get posted out as well as I can. I haven't worked out the international ones yet, but they'll all be going out. They're here, they're safe, and that's my update on them.
Honestly, if I could just come to your house and help you, I would. But, like, I don't know, the government would say no, probably. But
probably we'll get there. They'll go out. Honest.
I'll just walk there. It's fine.
Yeah, you just have a stroll.
Anyway, fuck you, buddies. It's been a pleasure talking to you. As a New Yorker, it's nice to have a daily stream in Honest Wargamer while I'm locked inside. Well, I'm glad. And I'm glad it helps people. I'm sorry if today wasn't... the first 10 minutes wasn't great, but as soon as we had James on, obviously it's just become an amazing show. So a big love to you guys. I need
to say thanks to everyone on the Honest Wargamer Patreon. Thank you to you guys. Couldn't do it without you. This is how I'd sound without you. Also, big love to everyone on the podcast. Stay hydrated. James, thanks very much.
Pleasure.